Come on, your house is one of those shacks around here, right? Better booth at home. That's what Susan says. No, my wife's coming to pick me up today, I reply. She looks surprised at first, then bursts into laughter. No way, you've got a car, a pickup truck, or maybe a tractor. No, it's my wife's car, so it's not like that. Your wife must be broke too, right? She laughs. Just then, my wife, Lisa, with a gentle smile, asks, I could hear your voice all the way in the car. Who are you calling Pua? Then, smile relaxedly. Susan lets out a gasp, almost like a scream. I suppose the Johnson family is doing well. It seems you only come around to discuss loans with the main family. No, it's not like that. When I said Pua, I was talking about Tom. So, you're saying you called my husband a Pua man? Lisa's eyes narrowed. Eyes like a snake aiming for its prey. She's definitely angry. Once she gets like this, there's no stopping her. I just watch as Susan, who was acting all high and mighty, trembles like a criminal at the guillotine. My name is Tom. I'm just an average doctor running a practice in a small rural town, my hometown. Originally, I worked at a hospital in the city, but the hustle and bustle didn't suit me, so I returned to the tranquility of my hometown. There's a high demand for medical care for the elderly here, but not enough hospitals. I spend my days treating patients who come in with aches and pains after farming, and listening to their stories. Then, I receive a letter. It's an invitation to a high school reunion. I grew up in this rural area, the son of a farmer. The farm is now run by my brother's family. I didn't come from a wealthy family, and my parents and older brother were kind, but because of that, I always felt apologetic. I was physically weak and couldn't help around the house. That's why I focused on my studies. I got into a prestigious university, but my goal was medical school. Though I had given up on it due to budget constraints, my parents sold some of our land, and my brother even broke into savings to gather the money for me. I accepted it with tears and set off alone for the university in the city. Life there was tough. I rented a cheap apartment and worked part-time while attending college. I studied late into the night to keep up with my classes. I must have been really exhausted. One day, a beautiful woman sat in front of me in the cafeteria while I was just drinking water with a pale face. She turned out to be my future wife. She was studying in the economics department and seemed to have been looking out for me, who sometimes sat there alone, idly sipping water. I was worried because you always look tired. Sorry for that. No need to apologize. I was captivated by her laughter. We introduced ourselves to each other and gradually became friends, often chatting in the same way, and before I knew it, we fell in love. Having a girlfriend lit a fire under my motivation. I aced both my job and studies, gaining a lot of knowledge. She, understanding my plight as a poor student, prepared homemade lunches for me every day and earnestly took care of me when I felt sick and caught colds easily. I felt guilty for relying on her so much. I love you because you're always trying hard. She said that, smiling. And so, my girlfriend and I graduated and got married. My parents were surprised that I got married right after graduation, and my brother laughed at me, but everyone attended our wedding and celebrated with us. After working for about 20 years in a hospital in the city, I couldn't maintain my health in the urban environment and decided to return to my hometown for treatment. My old classmates back home were surprised that I returned as a doctor, but they welcomed me warmly. I was looking forward to this reunion as a local, to meet classmates who had gone to the city. I was eagerly awaiting that day. This year's reunion turned out to be larger than expected. When I mentioned I hadn't expected it to be big enough to book an entire banquet hall at the hotel, my local classmates laughed and said, It's because Susan is coming. Susan. Who was that again? I searched my memory. You were often absent, Tom, so you might not remember her. She was beautiful, a genius, the belle of our class. That makes sense. Her attendance must have attracted many others. My classmates looked at me in amazement as I realized this. What's up? Well, you know, Tom, Susan saw you as a big rival. You were always top of the class. Really? Back then, I was just focused on studying, working too hard, and often getting sick, so I didn't interact much with anyone except close friends. The classmates I'm talking to now are ones I started speaking with after returning to the countryside. Returning home, I got to talk to people I couldn't during my desperate younger years and ended up with more friends than I had in my youth or while living in the city. I'm satisfied with my current situation. As more people started arriving, a commotion arose at the entrance. I wondered what was happening when a glamorous beauty entered, accompanied by several men. I see. She must be Susan. She was indeed beautiful, but to me, my wife is the most beautiful. Please find a seat. Start from the back. There's no particular seating arrangement. That's how it is at a rural reunion. But then, Susan glared sharply at me. After scrutinizing me, she said in a cool tone, "Are you Tom, by any chance? We weren't close enough to be on a first-name basis." To me, Susan was almost like a stranger. "Yeah, long time no see, Susan." "You remember my name?" Susan said with a snort. "Yes," I said vaguely, but Susan didn't seem to care. "Then why didn't you come to greet me?" "What? If you knew I was coming, it's only proper to greet me, right?" "Sorry." Overwhelmed by Susan's forcefulness, I inadvertently apologized to her, but was there any reason to apologize for? However, her entourage behind her echoed her sentiments, agreeing with her. This is what I dislike: poor people. They have no manners. While my family wasn't wealthy, I wondered what she meant. A classmate whispered to me, "Susan comes from a prestigious family." That made sense. Someone born into such a family might look down on someone from a farming background like me. It's a common story in the countryside. Indeed, landlords often have more power than tenant farmers. Susan must have had that kind of elitist mindset. "So, where is my seat?" she asked sharply, and I explained that there was no specific seating arrangement. "You can choose any seat from the inside." Just as I said that, Susan stamped her foot in frustration. "There's no seat reserved for me. Unbelievable." She scanned the room, looked at the arranged tables, and signaled something to a man behind her. "Well, what are you?" "I'm having them make a seat of honor for me. Isn't that obvious?" "But there's no need to make a seat of honor. Susan is a member of the Johnson family. Don't let a poor person interfere." Feeling pressured by the men surrounding Susan, I held my tongue. "Don't worry about it. They've always been like that." When I said that, my friend patted me on the shoulder as if to comfort me. A special seat was set up at the head of the table rows, as if she was a birthday girl. Susan looked on with satisfaction. "You knew I was coming, right? You should have been more considerate." She threw the words at me irritably and sat down in the seat as if it was her due. Her followers surrounded her, occupying nearby seats. People who had arrived early and taken seats were displaced as if they were being chased away. Frustrated by the arrogant behavior, I felt exasperated. Thankfully, those who moved didn't seem bothered. It's just how Susan is. They didn't seem to mind. As more guests arrived, the seats filled up quickly. After Susan gave the opening remarks, everyone started to drink, eat, and gradually began moving around, chatting, and enjoying themselves. I was talking with a friend I got along with when suddenly my shoulder was firmly pulled. Turning around, I saw one of Susan's followers. "Susan is calling you, come." Before I respond, I was pulled by the man and found myself in front of Susan. She silently pointed to her empty glass. Confused, I didn't understand what she wanted. Seeing my confusion, Susan snapped irritably. "Hello, can't you see? Pour me a drink." Startled by her shout, I hastily grabbed a beer nearby. But Susan frowned even more and glared at me. "You're serving me such cheap beer, but this is all they have for the party. Never mind, just bring me something worthy of me." With the fierce energy of Susan, who seemed like she might throw her glass at me, I escaped to order some drinks from the waitress. Returning with her apparent favorite wine and glasses, I approached Susan again. Susan snatched the glass from me as if it was expected and held it out. I silently poured wine into her glass. "It's better than I thought you'd bring." It seems the wine I got after checking with the waitress passed her testament. "Poor people like you haven't seen wine like this, right? I don't mind sharing." Saying this, Susan tilted her glass of wine. "Here, have a taste. This is a wine someone like you wouldn't drink even once in a lifetime." I felt uncomfortable with Susan's behavior, laughing mockingly. This wine was crafted with care by artisans and prepared by the hotel to satisfy guests. Treating it like this was just wrong. I thought about saying something, but my friend quietly stopped me. The waitress, waiting in the background, quietly cleaned up the spilled wine. Come to think of it, this friend's family owns a brewery. Feeling helpless, I watched this scene. Susan has always been imperious, even since our student days. Nobody criticized her behavior. She either made a scene with her entourage or kept a low profile, quietly enjoying the party from a distance. That's how the group was divided. It's a shame because I was looking forward to enjoying a friendly and harmonious atmosphere with everyone. I want to return to a modest group with my friend, but Susan and her entourage won't let me leave. They keep pestering me, making snide remarks and looking down on me. It's pathetic, isn't it? No matter how well you did in school, in the end, a poor person remains a poor person. Susan laughs mockingly, and her followers join in. I graduated from Harvard University. You know, what you did in school doesn't matter as much as what you've achieved in the end. Susan's words make her followers fully convinced, and even those who were just listening raise their voices in admiration at the fact that she graduated from Harvard University. Ultimately, there's a difference between people like you, who just became a local doctor, and us. Know your place. Even when she says that, I find myself at a loss for how to respond. Why is Susan so intent on looking down on me? Truly great people, people of a different class, don't behave in such a tasteless manner. But in this hometown, she's been treated like a princess. She must not be able to shake off that feeling. As a classmate, I worry whether she isn't embarrassed to behave like this at our age. But if I were to say such a thing, I could clearly see her getting furious. That would ruin the reunion. After all, Susan and her entourage probably only came to prop her up, and if this can just end without incident, then being ridiculed is not a big deal. I endured the disdainful remarks, just letting them wash over me as Susan dominated the reunion. Finally, the reunion ended, and everyone started heading home. Those living nearby walked, while those from the city stayed at the hotel. As for me, a local, my home was a bit far. What's wrong? Your house is one of those shacks around here, right? Just walk back. That's what Susan said. No, my wife is picking me up today. At that, she looked surprised, then burst into laughter. What, you have a car, a mini truck, or maybe a tractor? No, it's my wife's car, so it's not like that. Your wife must be poor too, huh? The moment she said that, I couldn't help but get angry. I could tolerate her bad-mouthing me, but not my wife. When I thought that, a strong light illuminated us. Then, a car that was clearly a luxury car stopped in front of me. What is this? Susan looked confused as I waved. It was Lisa's car. Lisa, come over here. When I called her, a woman with more grace than the car itself stepped out. What? Your wife drives that? Is there a problem with my car? Lisa responded to Susan's remark. Seeing Lisa arrive in the luxury car, Susan began to tremble. Tom, did you enjoy the reunion? Lisa asked me with a wry smile. Yeah, sort of. Lisa, sensing something from my wry smile, turned her gaze to Susan. Oh, I thought you looked familiar. Aren't you the daughter of the Johnson family, a branch family? Do you need something from my husband? Susan's shoulders twitched when Lisa spoke to her. Your husband? Wait, this man is from the main family. Who are you referring to as this man? Lisa's voice was stern in response to Susan's words. Susan, shrinking in fear, continued with a trembling voice. So, you mean you, the Smith family's daughter, are married to Tom, but your last names are different. This must be some joke, right? Lisa answered calmly to Susan's flustered voice. We use different surnames to our work. It's not uncommon these days, is it? Lisa sighed, as if exasperated, and stared down Susan. By the way, I heard your voice all the way inside the car. Who did you say was poor? Lisa smiled gently. Susan let out a whimper. Well, the Johnson family must be doing very well, right? I thought you often came to the main family asking for loans. It's not like that. When I said poor person, I meant Tom. So you were saying you called my husband a poor person? Lisa's eyes narrowed sharply. They were like the eyes of a snake zeroing in on its prey. She was truly angry. Once Lisa got like this, she couldn't be stopped. I just watched Susan, who had been acting all high and mighty, now trembling like a criminal at the guillotine. After a while, Susan, still trembling, seemed to gather her courage and looked up. I still can't accept it. Why him? He's just a poor country boy. He's not worthy of the Smith family. Really. Your birth and upbringing don't matter. I was drawn to his character, and you think he looks poor. Lisa gently wraps her arm around mine and looks up at me. I simply responded with a smile. That's because of the Smith family's wealth, right? That's not true. What do you mean? How can he afford such a car with his own wealth? Oh dear, what are you talking about? Lisa said, lightly holding her forehead. Do you even know how he became a doctor? Well, he must have graduated from some local university. Susan hesitated, and Lisa pressed on. Yes, we met at a university in the city. What? I didn't know that. You didn't ask me. I answered Susan's question smoothly. With my parents' and brother's support, I managed to study at the university I wanted to in the city. I graduated from its medical school and worked at a university hospital for a while. Susan's eyes widened and her lips trembled. Apparently, she had imagined me as a country doctor with a medical degree from a local university. Tom, don't be modest. Your achievements at the hospital and in academic societies have been outstanding, haven't they? Lisa's words made Susan grind her teeth and groan. But that means you received support, right? You just climbed up using the Smith family's assets and reputation. At those words, Lisa's face turned fierce. She stamped the ground as if about to break her heels. I can't ignore what you've been saying. Susan shrank back at Lisa's intensity. Seizing the moment, Lisa continued. I've been with Tom since university, and he never relied on my family. In fact, he's been careful not to let my name hinder him. That can't be. Certainly, you graduated from Harvard University, and then, what have you achieved since? Lisa's words made Susan groan. I've heard about the talented Ms. Johnson from Harvard University, but that's all, isn't it? That's not true. After graduating, I worked at a big corporation. Just working there, right? No significant position or achievements that I've heard of. Lisa's words left Susan speechless. Tom indeed lived a modest life. However, he and his family, with their diligence and integrity, have achieved success. Tom's family did that? I never heard such a thing. Aren't you aware of his family's situation? Lisa tilted her head quizzically. His family successfully bred a new variety of vegetables and will soon launch it as a brand. What? But Tom's family's fields are so small. Susan's voice rose in panic, and Lisa laughed merrily. Yes, to support Tom, they sold part of their land and succeeded in creating a rare variety from the remaining smaller field. That's right. My parents sold part of the field for me and tried new vegetable combinations with what was left. It was my brother's idea. Initially, there were many failures and life was tough, but now they are the only farmers producing a prestigious brand of vegetables. Tom could have become a hospital director with his credentials if not for his health issues. Why is he a small-town practitioner then? I asked him too, concerned about his health. And though you call it a small practice, Tom still publishes papers in various academic societies. I didn't know that. Somehow, whenever Lisa spoke about our family, she had a triumphant look on her face, which finally made Susan start crying. Lisa, let's stop it there. I'm embarrassed too. No way, Tom, you never boast about yourself, so I'll take this chance to brag a lot for you. With a sulky attitude, I never managed to win against Lisa. Anyway, Susan, can't we stop this kind of thing? At my words, Susan turned her tearful eyes towards me. What do you mean? In a spiritless voice, she answered, and I slowly added to my words. Susan, you never lost, did you? That's why you were upset about always losing to me in studies during our school days. That's right, so what? I think it's amazing that you used that frustration as a springboard to pass Harvard University. Surprised by my words, Susan looked at me. But you were satisfied with just that, weren't you? What are you trying to say? After graduation, I wasn't satisfied. I wanted to learn more, to work to help people, and above all, I wanted to give back to my family. Susan silently listened to my story. I smiled gently at her. Because I'm greedy, I wanted to become a doctor, help people, repay my family, and marry Lisa. So, I've always been running with an eye on the future. Are you saying I've stopped? Isn't that the case? You graduated from Harvard University, got a job in a big company, and were satisfied. Susan's face twisted in frustration, as if I hit the mark. I've overcome a lot, but I wasn't physically strong, got tired of working hard, and returned to my hometown. Surrounded by fields, a small rural town. I decided to support the people of this land for the rest of my life. What did you want to do when you enrolled in university, Susan? What do you want to do in your current company? I want you to take your time to think about that. As I said this, Lisa gently pulled my arm. Leaving Susan, who continued to cry, crouched down, we got in the car and headed home. My peaceful and serene rural town. I watched the lively people working in the fields from my office window. Hey, Lisa, are you really okay with this? Coming to such a rural town with me? I chose this. Plus, I can do most of my work remotely. She graduated from the economics department, started a business, and is now the president of a big company. Yet, she reformed most of her work to be remote and followed me to this rural town. We both travel to the city for important conferences or meetings, but generally, we face each other in our office, each doing our work. A refreshing breeze enters through the window, fluttering the curtains. A peaceful and serene slow life. This is the shape of my happiness. I've been working at a department store in New York for 10 years. I joined this company as a mid-career hire. By then, I was already an experienced employee. But suddenly, a new department called store support was established in our branch. And from managers to those in their 30s, dozens of us were transferred. Most of us were single, demoted with this move, and those with managerial positions were stripped of their titles. Because of this, many, including myself, saw a significant decrease in our annual income. In the rapidly worsening economy, it was difficult to see an immediate improvement in performance. It seems they wanted to cut costs by reducing the number of staff with titles. In store support, our main task was to assist in sales, like organizing shelves in the store, something usually done by new employees. I can't believe this is happening to me. There must be others more suited for this. No matter how much I lamented, the situation wouldn't change. I had no choice but to accept this new reality. And so, I started my new role in the branch office. Even with all that was going on, there was one good thing about my transfer. It was that the woman I had been interested in was working at the same branch. Her name was Emily. She's 2 years older than me and my boss in this department. She was demoted to this new department too. When I first joined the company, she was assigned to train me. She was quick and meticulous at work, and on top of that, she was as beautiful as a model. She had a calm demeanor and was popular among the male staff. She looked sophisticated but is naturally clumsy and a bit scatterbrained. I was immediately smitten by her endearing qualities. Hearing that she was also transferred here brightened my mood, even if just a little. However, I heard she's in a long-distance relationship. So, my love for her is likely unrequited. But that's okay. I'm content just secretly admiring her from afar. I bet there are many others who feel the same. There's another beautiful employee at this branch. Her name is Megan Smith, who joined a year ago. She's a recent graduate but quick to learn and understands the organization well. I was impressed by how smart she was for a newcomer. Initially, Emily and I guided her, but she quickly became independent. Megan has a cool and mature aura and is talkative once you get to know her. Emily, Megan, and I, connected through our mentor roles, became good friends and would often go out for drinks after work. During this time, we got a new boss transferred from another store to our department. My name is Michael. I'm really excited to join this branch. Nice to meet you all. He said that with a bright smile, greeting everyone. Despite being demoted, he seemed very positive. There was something unique about his vibe. Michael was in his mid-40s, tall, fairly handsome, with a suntan complexion, and dressed head to toe in branded clothing. Seeing that, I thought he might be a bit of a narcissist. Apparently, he's not married. While greeting the staff, I couldn't help but notice that he seemed particularly focused on Emily. It was almost as if he was sizing her up from head to toe. I had a bad feeling about this. After a while, we started to understand what kind of person he was. He was quick to slack off, even at the office. Taking advantage of the fact that there were hardly any executives at this branch, he'd leave work to the male employees and go bother his favorite female colleagues. Emily and Megan were among them. Hey, did you know a new bar just opened up near the station? Let me take you there sometime. Let me know when you're free. I go to the gym every evening after work. Oh, okay. Megan would casually brush Michael off, and eventually, he stopped bothering her. But kind-hearted Emily always responded politely to his annoying approaches. Oh, really? A new place? I didn't know that. Then Michael, possibly misunderstanding her politeness, started hitting on her. At first, he would just casually invite her for a drink in front of other employees, with a sleazy grin, saying, "How about we go out for a drink? Just the two of us, tonight." But gradually, he became more persistent and intrusive. When Emily changed her hairstyle, he even said, "You look pretty, it suits you," and stroked her hair. She clearly looked uncomfortable. Concerned, I suggested to her, "Maybe you should talk to someone higher up about this." But she just gave her eye smile and said, "It's okay, there'll probably be another department transfer soon, so I can bear it a bit longer." Megan was also worried about Emily. Emily was an admired senior colleague to her. That's why she couldn't stand Michael's behavior. When we had lunch together, Megan angrily said that Michael, instead of bothering Emily, he should be working. "I can't stand men like him." Still, Emily replied, "Thanks for worrying, but I don't want to make a big issue out of it. You know, people like him can be troublesome when angered. Let's just see how it goes for a while." True, I guess so. Feeling helpless and frustrated that I couldn't do anything to help Emily, I racked my brain for a solution but couldn't think of a good one. Then, after some time, I witnessed something. It was when I was leaving work. Oh no, I left my work cell phone on my desk. I must have forgotten it there. I need it for an early morning visit to a store tomorrow. If I stopped by the office, I'd be late. So, I went back to the office. There, I saw Michael and Emily in front of the building's entrance. He was standing next to Emily, urging her, "Come on, let's go for a drink today." She gently refused. "I can go with just you. Let's go with everyone next time." But he persisted. I stepped in front of them and said, "Good work today." Emily looked relieved. I signaled her with my eyes, and she quickly said, "Well then, I'll be heading off now," trying to leave. Then Michael grabbed her hand and said, "Come on, it's just for a bit. I heard you're not even seeing your boyfriend much. It's fine as long as no one finds out. Let me treat you tonight." I couldn't stay silent anymore and blurted out, "Michael, stop it. Can't you see she is uncomfortable? You have nothing to do with this. She wants to go for a drink too, right?" Michael turned to Emily for agreement, saying, "Right," but she just looked down silently. Still smiling, he said, "No woman has ever not fallen for me." I was astonished at his confidence. Then he reached for Emily's arm again. I couldn't hold back any longer and shouted at him, "Enough already. Can't you see she's not interested?" Emily's face tensed and he looked irritated. I continued, "If you keep this up, I'll report you to the headquarters. You could get disciplined, you know." Michael snapped back, "What kind of way is that to talk to your boss?" But I replied, "Isn't your behavior the real problem here?" Then Emily finally spoke up, "Please, stop this." Then she took my hand and said, "Let's go," and we left the place together. Michael glared at me as Emily led me away. I could hear him mutter a parting shot from behind, "You'll remember this." We walked in silence for a while until she thanked me. "Thanks for back there. Sorry you got dragged into this." Her expression was somber. She must have been scared of his advances. I felt even more resentful towards him. After that incident, I started receiving harassment from Michael. He would yell at me in front of customers, dump difficult customer complaints on me, and create unnecessary work to burden me with. He even pretended to stumble once to spill coffee on me. It was like dealing with a grade schooler. He usually harassed me when other employees weren't watching. So, most staff members were unaware of the full extent of his behavior. But of course, Emily and Megan knew. Michael was up to his weird antics again. "I'm really sorry this is affecting you." Emily always had a look of apology on her face. Some time passed, and Megan called me over. "I can't stand him anymore. Leave him to me," she said determinedly. Confused, I asked, What are you planning?" Megan just grinned mysteriously. The next day, something surprising happened, and I understood the meaning behind her words. A human resources manager from the parent company arrived at the branch. "I've been transferred here as of today. I'm Richard Smith from the group headquarters. Nice to meet you. Wait, Smith, you mean? Turns out, Megan was his daughter. That explained why she knew so much about the company's organization. Even among department heads, HR manager from the parent company held more clout. Michael was subservient in front of Richard. But Richard spoke sternly. I've heard about you from my daughter. It seems you're all play and no work. Apparently, Megan had been documenting Michael's poor work performance and harassment, even gathering video evidence. Michael was visibly shaken by Richard's arrival. Later, Richard called him for a meeting. He kept making excuses, but Richard only said, "Your disciplinary action will be formally announced later," and left. He was dejected, muttering, "This can't be happening." As Richard had declared, disciplinary action was taken against Michael. He was stripped of his managerial role and transferred to a rural store rumored to be closing. He was told he wouldn't be transferred elsewhere until he proved himself there. After Michael's departure, a woman who had previously been a manager was reinstated as the head of our branch. After that, Emily no longer faced any harassment, and peace returned to the branch. I thought I would continue to have enjoyable days as before. But it didn't turn out as smoothly as I hoped. One day, while having lunch with Emily and Megan, Emily had some news. "I've got something to tell you. I'm getting married, and I'm thinking of resigning." She suddenly revealed her plans for marriage and leaving the job. She was finally marrying her long-distance boyfriend. "Congratulations, Emily," Megan exclaimed happily. Her fiancé, who had been working overseas, proposed to her once his job settled down, and she decided to move abroad with him. She looked genuinely happy. Standing in front of her, I couldn't honestly feel happy about her marriage, and that made me feel pathetic. Although I said, "Congratulations," the shock was overwhelming. Maybe deep down, I harbored a secret hope that I still had a chance with her. A month later, Emily left the company. After some time, she sent me a photo with a message saying, "I got married," showing her happiness. I didn't respond. I couldn't. And so, my love for her ended. After that, I focused more on my work than ever before. Richard soon got transferred to the headquarters of our company, and he implemented improvements in the struggling organization. Thanks to him, our department, created for demotions, was dissolved, and now we're part of a team improving stores through marketing approach us. Since Emily's departure, Megan has been looking out for me. Maybe she realized I had an unrequited love for Emily. Megan is kind. She's usually cool, but shows a childlike side when it's just the two of us. I once blurted out to her, "Being with you feels like having a little sister." Then Megan puffed her cheeks and said, "Don't just decide I'm your sister. If anything, I'd rather be your girlfriend." Her face was adorable as she said that. Now, thanks to Megan, I'm gradually regaining my spirits. When we have lunch together, she's always cheerful and seems happy. Her smile is comforting. Hoping for happiness to come my way next, I will spend my days. He used to be my errand boy in my first year of high school. My old classmate Jake introduced me as such at a mixer I attended after graduating from high school. Sighing, I stood there as he recanted this as if it were some heroic tale. He then insisted we go to the after party, but when I refused, he grabbed my arm forcefully, saying, "Come on, I'm inviting you." Just at that moment, a man with prominent tattoos got out of a luxury car and confronted Jake. "Hey, kid, what do you think you're doing to this young man?" After that, Jake found himself in a whole lot of trouble. My name is Tom. I'm a typical introverted high school boy, wearing black-rimmed glasses and often hiding my expressions behind my bangs. I grew up in a household that was well known locally for being quite peculiar. In fact, I was raised in the kind of home where other kids were told, "You shouldn't play with him." As a result, I didn't have any friends during my elementary and middle school years. The reason for this stemmed from my father and our family home. During elementary school, I happened upon a local soccer club practice and was watching it when the coach invited me to join, asking, "Would you like to play with us?" But as I was about to start practicing, someone said, "Coach, you can't let him play." "That's right. We shouldn't hang out with Tom. My mom said so." I was told not to get involved with him. Others chimed in. To make matters worse, I overheard a parent watching the training say, "If he joins, I'll move my child to another team. It's better to be safe before anything happens." Essentially, I was the neighborhood outcast. Because of all this, I hated my father. We hardly speak now. During middle school, just walking down the hallway would make my classmates nervous, and this led to a lonely and unenjoyable school life. That's why, when it came time for high school, I deliberately chose a school far away. I was hoping for a fresh start in a place where no one knew me. The commute was nearly 3 hours one way, but I had to accept this as the condition for leaving my family home. I had envisioned a bright future, finally enjoying high school life. However, that bright future was shattered all too soon. After the entrance ceremony, I immediately fell and missed school. When I was finally able to return, about a week later, I found that cliques had already formed in my class. Moreover, most students at this high school had come from nearby middle schools, leaving me isolated as the newcomer who had missed the initial bonding. My dream of a bright high school life had crumbled to dust. Crushed, I resolved to just keep to myself and not dream any bigger. Being alone was nothing new to me. I just had to endure these 3 years quietly. I thought that as long as I kept a low profile, I wouldn't stand out, especially since I had always been introverted. But I soon faced two major issues. The first was that Maria, a girl who had also graduated from the same middle school and lived in my neighborhood, ended up in the same class, seated right next to me. While Maria and I had never been in the same class in middle school, she surely knew about my infamous family. I lived in fear of her revealing this to our classmates someday. Interestingly, the high school had a unique designer course, starting from the second year, similar to choosing between arts and sciences. This course has produced several famous designers in the past, and it is said that many students come to the school for this reason. Maria had apparently enrolled for the designer course at this school, and they happened to be in the same class and seated next to each other in the first year. After the entrance ceremony and class introductions, I nervously spoke to Maria, who was sitting beside me. "Maria, Tom, we went to the same middle school, right?" she said with a smile, looking lovely. But it was clear she knew we had shared the same school. You probably know about my family, but here, could you?" "Oh, of course, I won't say a word," she interrupted. "What?" I was taken aback by Maria's nonchalant response. Maria said reassuringly, "There's no need to tell anyone. Don't worry, I can keep a secret." She nodded confidently. Since then, Maria had been kind to me. We weren't exactly close, but we did chat occasionally. By the way, Maria was boarding near the high school. To be honest, this made me a bit envious. And then there was another problem. That was, "Hey Tom, go buy me a soda," demanded my classmate, Jake. Jake was quite the charmer, good-looking, academically gifted, and athletic. He was top of the social ladder in our class and even in our grade. I found myself running errands for him. I didn't know why, but one day he just started ordering me around. Thinking it was just a one-time thing, I complied, but that only encouraged him. He kept making these demands, and when I finally refused, he punched me in the stomach, saying, "You better listen to me. I was more shocked than hurt, as anyone who knew my family background would never dare treat me that way. "Just go and buy it," he insisted. I decided it was easier to just go along with it to avoid further trouble. Honestly, being an errand boy wasn't a big deal for me. I didn't want to stand out. I thought, if I stand out, people might find out about my family. But the problem is that I'm still slightly annoyed at being used as an errand boy. However, both of these problems were resolved by the end of my first year. In our second year, I chose the art stream. Maria went for the designer course, and Jake chose science, so we weren't in the same class anymore. Maria never revealed my family's background, and I kept to myself in the art stream, graduating from high school without much interaction with others. I didn't want to take over my family's business and was keen on leaving home, so I decided to get a job right after high school. I loved reading. I also had interested in the publishing and printing industry, so I joined a printing company. I moved out as soon as I graduated from high school and have been living alone ever since. 5 years after graduating, I was still working at the same printing company. One day, my co-worker Zach suddenly asked, "Tom, can you go to a mixer in my place?" "Excuse me." I let out an unusual voice and was surprised by my own reaction. "Actually, there's a mixer this weekend, but my girlfriend found out, and now I can go." "Zach, going to a mixer when you have a girlfriend is not cool," I remarked. "It was just a moment of weakness. I mean, I heard the ladies that are coming have great jobs and seem to be successful, and I kind of wanted to get to know them," he explained. "Is that so?" I was amazed at his mindset despite having a girlfriend. "Well, I've never had a girlfriend, so I couldn't relate to his feelings." Then Zach glanced at me and pleaded, "Please, go in my place." "No way, that's impossible." This party was actually arranged for one of the guys because he wanted to meet a certain lady there. So I was just going to be there to make up the numbers. "All you have to do is just show up, please." Dak and I were about the same age, so it seemed like his request included that factor too. Despite my refusals, Zach was persistent. Eventually, I gave in and agreed to go to the mixer as a filler. The party was, oddly enough, at a restaurant in my hometown. I wondered why it had to be there, but having agreed to it, I felt a strange sense of obligation to attend. Then I remembered a recent message from my mom, saying she wasn't feeling well and asking me to visit home. I still dislike my family home, so I rarely went back since I started living alone. Well, since I'm going to be near home for the party, I might as well stop by afterward. Thinking this, I decided to inform someone about it. On the day of the mixer, I went to the meeting place Zach told me about, and to my surprise, there was Jake. "Tom, what are you doing here?" he exclaimed upon noticing me. I was stunned. Zach had mentioned the organizer was a guy named Jake, but I never expected it to be my old classmate Jake. "I'm here in place of Zach." "What? You're Zach's replacement?" he said, clearly surprised. "Dak is my senior at work. He asked me to fill in for him today," I explained. Jake muttered something under his breath, but I decided not to pay it any mind. Then, Jake suddenly told me, "Hey Tom, you know, I went through a lot of trouble to set up this party because I wanted to invite Maria. I've had my eye on her since high school, so don't mess it up for me." Apparently, Jake had been interested in Maria since our high school days. He had finally managed to get her to this mixer after much effort. His persistence was quite something. Just because you were in the same middle school doesn't mean you can get cozy with Maria. "I haven't forgotten you two used to talk. Don't get in my way," he warned, although my interactions with her in freshman year weren't as close as he implied. Just occasional chats. Besides Jake and me, another participant, Chris, seemed to be a friend of Jake's. However, Chris was just there to make up the numbers, getting paid separately by Jake on top of his share of the costs. It was clear that Jake had put a lot of effort into this party. When we arrived at the venue, Maria and 2 other ladies were already there. Jake approached them, saying, "Sorry to keep you waiting." Then, Maria and I made eye contact. "Tom, it's been a while," she said. "Yeah, it has," I replied, my heart racing a bit. Maria had become even more beautiful over the past 5 years. She used to be more of the cute type in high school, but now she had matured into a stunning beauty. As soon as we entered the restaurant, everyone took their seats. The mixer began, 3 ladies and 3 guys. We all raised our glasses for a toast and introduced ourselves. Right away, Jake pointed at me and said, "This guy, back in our freshman year of high school, he was like my errand boy," bragging about it as if it were some sort of achievement. "He still looks the same as back then, still the introvert," he added. "Yeah, he really does have that introvert look." The other 2 ladies besides Maria giggled as they seemed to mock me. Well, I was indeed an introvert in high school and still continued my style of black-rimmed glasses and bangs. My clothes weren't anything special either. In contrast, Jake was dressed quite elaborately, even wearing a gold necklace. He introduced himself as a university graduate preparing to start a business, but Chris quietly told me that he was actually still in university due to insufficient grades. Maria was working as a designer, and the other 2 girls worked at an apparel store. As Jake had claimed he was targeting Maria, he kept glancing her way while boasting about his heroic deeds. However, Maria herself didn't seem to be enjoying it at all, just sipping her juice throughout. You could tell she wasn't having fun just by the atmosphere. Jake kept making fun of me, and before we knew it, the 2-hour course meal was over, and we left the restaurant. My first mixer, but ironically, it wasn't fun at all. While Jake and the others were getting excited saying, "Let's have an after party," I thought it was enough to have attended the main event. I should visit my mom's place now. With that thought, I started to leave. Suddenly, Jake called out, "Hey, errand boy Tom, we're going to have an after party." To which I replied, "I can't go. I have something else to do." "What? There's nothing more important than an invitation from me," he retorted, grabbing my arm tightly. "Maria said she'll go if you come. Just come along," he insisted. I wondered why Maria would say something like that, but I had an important task to check on my mom. "I'm sorry, but I really have an unmissable task," I was about to explain. But suddenly a very deep voice interrupted us saying, "Hey kid." Turning towards the voice, I saw a group of about 5 intimidating-looking men, all dressed in black suits, one with a bald head and tattoos showing from under his clothing, another with a scar on his cheek and black sunglasses. "Let go of that man's arm," the leader with the scar demanded. Jake immediately turned pale and hastily let go of my arm. He stammered. "You little brat, don't get too cocky." Then, all 5 men turned to me and said, "Young master, we have come to pick you up." "I didn't need so many of you to come, but thank you for coming," I responded. "Hearing that the young master is here, we will come no matter where he is," they replied. "Young master." Jake sat down on the spot, his legs giving out. It's no surprise Jake reacted this way. As they called me, I am the young master. My family runs the mafia group Williams, and the group was famous in my hometown. My father is the current leader of the Williams. As his son, I am known as the young master, a title well known locally since my birth, as my father was already the leader by then. By the time I was born, my father was already the leader, so my position was well known in my hometown. Thanks to this, I was avoided in elementary and junior high school as the son of a mafia family, and I could not make friends. That's why I chose a high school where no one knew about me. Seeing Jake's reaction, I realized once again that choosing a distant high school was the right decision. "Hey kid," the young master said, "he's not going. so don't try to force him. Besides, he has important matters to attend to right now. Don't get in his way. Justin, a notorious tough guy of the group known for his bald head and black suit, shouted at Jake, who was still on the ground, trembling like a leaf. Looking around, I saw that a crowd had gathered, and the two girls and Chris, who had come to the party, were gone, apparently having slipped away amidst the commotion. "Shall we depart, young master?" "Yes, let's go," I agreed. I was following the group's head, Ken, to the car, a typical black luxury vehicle. Then, turning to Maria, I said, "Would you like a ride, Maria? We can drop you off if you'd like." "Really? That would be great, thank you," she replied. I hadn't realized it, but Maria had been there the whole time during the commotion. "You were here, Maria. How could you not notice, Tom? I've been here the whole time. I thought you might have run away, considering these mafia guys showed up." "I'm used to it, don't worry. Everyone from the Williams has always been kind to me." It seemed Maria wasn't afraid of mafia at all. Maria and I ended up sitting together in the back seat. She was getting along well with the group members, talking animatedly. Honestly, it seemed like she was even closer to them than to me. "Do you often visit my house, Maria?" I asked. "Actually, your mother often buys clothes I design. Because of that connection, I've been invited to your house and have always been treated kindly by everyone from the Williams," she explained. I was surprised by her words, unaware of this connection between her and my mother. Maria has become quite a popular designer lately. The master's wife has been saying how she misses not being able to see her as often. One of the members commented, "I've been too busy to visit recently, but if you're heading there now, can I come along?" Maria asked. Of course, the master's wife will be delighted. From this conversation, it was clear that Maria had a very good relationship with everyone from the Williams. Maria and I ended up heading to my family home together. "Sorry for not knowing, but you're quite famous, aren't you, Maria?" "Well, it's normal for guys not to know. I've only started to get more recognition recently. Tom, have you heard of the girl group called Ice Girls?" "Of course, I know them. They're really popular right now. My company has printed some of their photo books." Ice Girls is arguably the most popular female band in the country. I think everyone young knows about them. All the members are, of course, cute, so their photo books are guaranteed to be a huge hit. They even release a group photo book annually. Actually, my company has been printing their photo books, which has significantly contributed to our sales, and I've been quietly supporting them. The clothes the members wear in those photo books, I designed them, Maria revealed. "What?" I was astonished. Maria just smiled. "I also designed their uniforms, and I recently started my own brand called Remake. I've even been selected to showcase my designs at next year's Paris collection. Of course, it will all be my designs," she added. "That's amazing." I was genuinely impressed. It felt like a story from a book, creating her own brand and going to the Paris collection. "Maria, you're really making your dreams come true. That's incredible." "I'm just doing what I want to do," she said modestly. "Doing what you want to do? You chose your current job too, right, Tom? Because you like books, you joined a printing company." "Yeah, that's right. I went into printing because I love books." "So you're doing what you want to do, because if you hadn't, you would be in line to be the next head of the Williams, wouldn't you?" Maria was right. I would be the next head of the Williams. But I'm not that strong in fights, and I didn't want to be the next master, so I'm doing the job I'm doing now. For some reason, Maria complimented me on that as well, saying, "I think it's cool that you have a path for the future, and you're going your own way instead of choosing the one prepared. And sticking to your introverted style even at work, that's impressive," she said with a laugh. I blurted out, "How do you know that?" Indeed, I had maintained the same style since high school. I haven't seen Maria in about 5 years, so how does she know I work in this form? Actually, I visited your printing company a while ago to say thanks, Maria said. Really? I was surprised. I always appreciate the work your company does, so I thought I'd drop by. Print quality really varies between companies, and I think yours does the best job, she explained. I guess so, I replied, a bit overwhelmed. When I was there, I saw you working hard. Seeing you so dedicated was really cool, she added. My face turned red instantly. I wasn't used to such straightforward compliments. Young master, your face is all red. That's great. It's like something out of a youth drama. Maria, why don't you date the young master? If Maria became your girlfriend, even the master and his wife would be happy. The others teased, so I decided I'd have to talk to those guys later. It turned out my mom's poor health was just indigestion from overeating, so I left home soon after. Months later, Maria and I exchanged contact information and kept in touch. Then she confessed, I like you for being true to myself. By that time, I was deeply attracted to Maria, who was always enthusiastic and positive, even in the face of failure. After her confession, we officially started dating. Maria was usually all smiles, but one day she looked upset. What's wrong? I asked. Well, I've been getting persistent messages from Jake, she confessed. When I asked her for more details, she said that ever since that mixer, she had been receiving daily messages saying, I'm falling for you, I want you to go out with me, and so on. This seemed to continue even after she told him I like someone else. However, he never gives up and sends her text messages, saying I can definitely make you happier than any other guy. He also calls sometimes and says the same things over the phone, so she has been ignoring everything lately. I wonder how long this will go on, said Maria with a disgusted look on her face. I wanted to do something about Jake bothering Maria. One day, Maria and I were at a cafe. I stepped away to use the restroom. When I returned, I found Maria being bothered by someone. I've told you, I have a boyfriend now. Leave me alone, she insisted. But I'm better for you than he is. Come on, go out with me. I've liked you since high school. The man persisted. It was Jake who was bothering Maria. I was shocked to see him there. But I'm happier with my boyfriend than I could ever be with you, Maria responded firmly. Come on, just go on a date with me. I want to brag that I'm dating the popular designer Maria, Jake pleaded. He was grabbing her arm like he did at the mixer. That's when I quickly approached and placed my hand on Jake's shoulder. What do you think you're doing to my girlfriend? I smile at Jake, who turns around as if in a panic. Who are you? Jake was startled. It might be hard to recognize me, but I'm Tom, I revealed. What? That introvert Tom? That can't be. Jake was in disbelief. Maria styled me. Looks good, doesn't it? I said, referring to my new look. Maria had been styling me ever since we started dating. Her expertise as a designer had transformed my appearance, earning praise even at work. I also changed my hairstyle and started wearing contact lenses. As Maria has insisted, it suits you better. Lately, I'd even been scouted by talent agencies while walking down the street. Just so you know, Maria and I are dating. If you keep bothering her, I might have to call my family again, I warned him. Remembering the previous incident, Jake turned pale and ran off, shouting, No, I don't want any of that. Tom, thank you, you were so cool, Maria exclaimed. Well, I did rely on my family in the end, I admitted. It's enough. I don't think he'll bother me anymore. I laughed at the sight of Maria's happy and excited appearance. After that, Jake, perhaps out of frustration or spite, got involved with several women. This included a married woman, which led to a complicated mess. He faced an enormous amount of alimony, and in a desperate attempt to pay it off, borrowed money from loan sharks, only to be burdened with astronomical interest. He was forced to drop out of university and now works tirelessly from dawn to dusk, as Maria learned through the grapevine. Apparently, he had been using others as errand boys in university too, but when he needed help, no one was willing to lend a hand. Maria and I continued our relationship and are planning to get married next month. After seeing Maria bothered by Jake, I became determined to protect her. Kent took over as the leader of the Williams, and I am still working at the printing company. My parents wanted me to take over, but I said, I don't want to take over. I will decide how to live my life by myself. They said, that's fine, if that's what you want. Maria supported my decision, saying, you should do what you want to do. I know that a predetermined future might seem easier, but it could lead to regret later. Rather than living with regret, I believe it's better to follow your own path, even if it goes against what others expect. After all, it's up to me to decide my life. There may be many challenges ahead, but I choose to pursue what I truly want, rather than making choices I might regret later. Don't ignore me. It's been a while, hasn't it? You're still alive. In this day and age, living on an annual income of $10,000, life must be just scraping by, especially with only a deli part-time job. My ex-wife had assumed I was low income and uneducated, and left me for another man. I don't recall ever saying my annual income was $10,000. If anything comes to mind about $10,000, it might be about Trent. Just mentioning a school festival had her concluding I was a high school dropout. My name is Ethan, 53 years old. On weekdays, I work part-time at my brother's deli. Having lived alone for a long time, I'm pretty good at cooking, so I ended up helping out on days when a skillful chef is off. The rest of the time, I enjoy clicking away at my computer or practicing the keyboard. My joy comes from the sporadic lit performances I participate in. I joined a band through a local music shop's member recruitment, and it's been 3 years now. In fact, my first band performance was at my wedding. Preparing for the wedding was less exciting than practicing with the band. If I had attended high school normally, I imagine this is what practicing for a school festival would have felt like. One day, after a gig and drinks with friends, I was on my way home when I heard a familiar voice. Turning towards the sound, I saw my ex-wife Emily and a man walking arm in arm. I prayed not to be noticed, but Emily came towards me. Emily was someone I knew for about 5 years, whom I casually started dating and married, only to divorce 2 years later. Ethan, you still haven't pawned your guitar. I cursed my luck at that moment. I pretended not to know her. Don't ignore me. It's been a while, hasn't it? You're still alive. Living on an annual income of $10,000 in this day and age, you must be barely making ends meet with just a deli part-time job. I was slightly drunk and couldn't fully grasp what Emily was saying. What do you mean? An annual income of $10,000? That's your income, right? Did I ever talk to you about my income? To be honest, it was hard to define my annual income with my job. The income varied greatly from year to year, and it was quite volatile. You just help out at your brother's deli occasionally. Does that mean you don't even make $10,000 a year? Well, that's sad. Sorry for calling you that. The man beside her chuckled. Still rocking long, red hair at your age, thinking rock and roll is the best, huh? The man next to her burst out laughing. I dyed it for today's gig. That old man's band, right? Speaking of which, what happened to those self-produced CDs? Don't try to sell them to me just because you couldn't sell. It's annoying. They're all gone, sold out quickly. Right around when Emily brought up divorce, our band had started producing our own CDs. I remembered fondly how Emily, who seemed cute back then, had helped with the lyrics and illustrations. Did you distribute the CDs at the venue? The man laughed uproariously as he spoke. Since it was self-produced with no sponsors, we couldn't make that many. Doesn't that mean you're running at a loss? With an annual income of just over $10,000, if you end up in debt, you might as well be off to the afterlife. Don't hunt me as a ghost then, Emily said, making ghost-like gestures. She looked young and honestly beautiful for her age, but I thought there were parts where age just couldn't be defied. By the way, you didn't have much education, did you? You kept asking, is this what a school festival is like? So, you must have been a high school dropout. That's why your income is below $10,000. I kind of get it now. Education and income are correlated. Except maybe for some geniuses. She really knew how to say whatever she wanted. I didn't realize she was like this. Well, I first saw Emily when I casually stopped by a bar, and it was love at first sight. She was over a decade younger, but that didn't matter to me. After that, I started going to that bar every day. After visiting a few times, I gradually got to talk to Emily and eventually asked her out to a movie on a weekend. Then we had a fancy lunch and went for coffee at Starbucks, and after a few dates, I confessed and later proposed to her, and we got married. It was a feat I hadn't achieved since filling the Madison Square Garden with my band back in the day. What I liked about her was that she was petite and cute. I was attracted to her in her baddie bar uniform and her long, beautiful black hair, not to mention she was a beauty with the best smile. Honestly, I never had trouble with women until my 30s. Playing in a band, I was quite popular and did whatever I wanted. I was used to handling women who came onto me, but Emily was the one I really wanted to win over. Now, the Emily in front of me had brown hair, just like the man next to her. That reminds me. There was a day when Emily suddenly came home with her hair cut short and dyed brown. The next day, she left a divorce oath and keys on the table and left. I never knew why. But Emily had gradually changed from when we first met. When she left, I was as down as I was when my band broke up, and I spent several days in bed. After all that, it took me quite a while to forget about Emily, so why has she appeared in front of me now? And with another man, no less. Was it about money when she left the house? She kept talking about an annual income of $10,000, but I didn't understand what she meant. Where did you get that figure from? Hearing you talk about an annual income of less than $10,000. I saw it, your payslip. It was $870. So, the annual income is $10,000, Emily said. Then I understood. Emily thought my only source of income was the part-time pay from my brother's deli. That's not true. With that little pay, we couldn't have lived in that apartment we used to live in. How much was the rent for the apartment we lived in when I was with you? $10,000. So, your so-called my annual income would be gone in a minute's rent. No way. That apartment cost $10,000 a month to rent. Amazing, huh? Was it like with a gatekeeper and a pool? You remember the concierge at the entrance, right? Once, we got theater tickets from them. There was a pool too. And we even went to buy a swimsuit for that. And, do you remember going to the gym? You gave up after 3 days. But we went shopping for gym wear then. And Emily, when you were in a bad mood, you would always hide in the sauna room and come out saying you felt refreshed. Emily seemed to be reminiscing about our life together. I remembered Emily trying on clothes in stores and asking me how she looked every time. At first, I gave my opinion, but gradually I got tired and just responded vaguely while looking at my phone, and she would get mad, saying, "Pay attention." I remembered having a hard time cheering her up after that. I don't want to say this, but I don't know how much your guy makes, but if you're living with him, do you have all these things? Come to think of it, there's nothing, except maybe a balance ball rolling around the room. It's really in the way because the house is small. Emily said without hesitation, glancing at her companion. The man looked apologetically. Is what this guy is saying true? Where were you living with him, Emily? You know, that apartment on the top floor. It was a hassle to get in, and the elevator took forever, so it was always irritated. But it was convenient because they would hold the packages I ordered online downstairs, so there were no redeliveries. Emily turned and pointed to a towering building. That apartment, it's a luxury complex where celebrities live. There's no way his annual income is just $10,000. I always saw TV celebrities there. Isn't that typical for New York? Have you ever met a celebrity in my apartment? Yeah, there was one living on the first floor. Forgot his name though. That guy was an unsuccessful comedian who recently got evicted for not paying rent. Ethan, were you actually rich? I realized the place we lived was incredible, but why was your car done up like a hot rod? With short skirt. I'd have to show my underwear just to sit down. Plus, the passenger seat was on the driver's side, and to top it off, I always messed up opening the upward swinging door. It was nice to get attention, but I was photographed a lot and had no privacy. Seriously rude. That's a supercar, isn't it? It was like that when I was with you, but I've calmed down now. So, you mean that loud, flashy car from back then couldn't have been bought with an annual income of $10,000? Not impossible to buy. It was a limited edition. Cost me a bit over $320,000. Got it cheaper than I expected through a contact. Wait, $320,000 for that car? You're joking, right? It was a limited edition. Only 3 came into the US. It was tough getting it. Sold it later and got some money back when buying my next car. Couldn't even fit my musical instruments in it, and yay. Getting in and out was inconvenient. Had to be careful with bumps while driving and was always nervous going somewhere. What does this guy do for a living? Involved in something shady? I don't know anything, really. All I knew about Ethan was he helped at the deli and clicked away at his computer at home, in that old man's band. I told you when we were together. You never believed me. I don't remember at all. Does an old man's band make money? Tell me. Emily's voice softened, and she unconsciously let go of the man's arm. I debuted in a band back in the day, stopped playing for a while, but then wanted to start again. It's more like a hobby now, but it got unexpectedly popular. We're about to make a major debut, but it's not making money yet. My main job is what Emily mentioned. The computer clicking stuff. I mentioned some famous female groups I worked with. I compose and provide songs for them, making music on my computer. Seriously, I've been unwittingly supporting your ex-husband. I just bought 10 CDs of that group the other day, wanted their autographs. That's why you said you were broke, seriously. Emily and the man started bickering. Oh yeah. I remember now. You said you were composing songs for girls' bands, but back then, you said it didn't pay much. Back then, I was just starting out. Now, I'm involved in most of their albums. Look it up on your phone. Most of the composers' names are EH. Ethan, that's me. True, most are EH. That's impressive. What was your old band's name? The man leaned in eagerly. Apparently, this guy used to play drums in a light music club during his student days. He said he checked out every band he heard about at that time. It was looks, but there were so many bands during that boom, you might not know it. No way, I love Alex's drumming. Own all their CDs, even played their music at a school festival. That's awesome. Can I have your autograph? I wasn't Alex. And it was because of him that the band broke up. I reminisced. Man, you lived with someone amazing. I'm envious. I'd love to attend your old man's band concert sometime. The man was at peak excitement, visibly thrilled. I don't know that band. Were they that popular? For Emily, it was a band she'd never heard of. She seemed to think of them as just another group among many. Look it up. Their songs were used in car commercials and even played on New Year's Eve TV specials. Indeed, our songs have been used in commercials, movies, and dramas. Emily must have heard them but didn't know the band or song names. Hearing this, she reluctantly started searching on her phone. "Oh, I saw that movie with an ex-boyfriend, and I watched that drama too. Like the theme song, my high school crush sang it to me. You played on that, seriously." Though Emily only remembered things associated with men. I peeked at her phone. "I composed that song. Are you the one on the far left is super handsome, amazing, though not as much as the guy in the middle?" Then Emily checked the band's appearance. "Right. We were probably the most popular rock band at the time." I was feeling pretty good. "You're kidding. You never looked like a wealthy man." I had no interest in anything other than where I lived and my car. Instead, I made sure you never struggled, spending money on places you wanted to go and things you wanted to eat. At that moment, Emily looked at me with a mischievous glint in her eye. "Of course, I chose you, after all. You had to have that kind of background and manliness." With that, Emily then linked her arm with mine. "That's how it is. I think there's someone better out there for you, so goodbye. I'm going to try again with Ethan. Meeting here like this must be some kind of fate, right, Ethan? I'll take care of everything for you, just like I did before." "What do you mean, Emily? Quiet. Are you saying you're better than Ethan? If anything, you just made new debts. Just when everything was paid off, I'm done with it." The man looked down dejectedly. I unlinked my arm from Emily's. "Why now?" "No thanks, Emily is all yours." "No, Emily chose you now. She was originally yours, so I'm giving her back to you. I was just borrowing her. Thanks for everything, and I'm sorry." "Stop it. Don't fight over me, but I am one of a kind, so I have to choose one of you. Being beautiful is a sin." "No, we're not fighting over you. If anything, we're trying to pass you off to each other." "Emily, do you even hear what we're saying? Stop being so full of yourself." "And who are you? Are you saying you don't understand what I'm saying because you're less educated?" "Sure, I only graduated high school, but I don't think I'm uneducated." The man looked at me as if to say, "What about you?" "I went to college because of a promise I made with my parents when I started the band." "What, Ethan? You went to college? You said you didn't know about school festivals. Weren't you a high school dropout?" "That's harsh. Even nowadays, you don't hear about rockers being high school dropouts." "In high school, I was already set for a band debut, and was too busy with school, live shows, TV stations, and studios. Barely made the attendance, never attended school festivals or sports days. I even missed the school trip for recording. It was a sad high school life. Naturally, I couldn't do extracurricular activities and only made a few friends." "Right. A man needs at least a college degree in today's world. You have wonderful parents. Got it, now go away, out of my sight. I'm going to soar through the world of music with Ethan." "Emily, why don't you fly off somewhere I don't know about?" "I will, with Ethan." "Why now? You left me because you thought I only made $10,000 a year. Now that you know I have money, you want to get back together. Isn't that a bit much?" "What's wrong with that? We just didn't know each other well enough. Sure, $10,000 a year is a concerning amount for the future. It's your fault. But I won't blame you, because from now on, we'll work together. It's common for divorced couples to remarry. Even celebrities have done it recently." Emily looked at me with the same cute smile she had back then. Just as I was about to take the hand she offered, I heard a familiar car horn. "Sorry I'm late. Even late at night, the weekend bar streets are jammed. 3 lanes and still this traffic. Hurry up and get in. I can't park here for long." "What, are you picking up girls?" "Who's that woman? She's dressed like a young girl, but she's no different from me." Drunk, I had called someone to pick me up. I quickly got into the car. "Who's that woman? You were cheating on me, weren't you?" I had been silent until now, but finally, I spoke up. "That should be my line. A year after we got married, I knew you were with that younger man. I believed you'd come back after being played by him, So I waited, but you left. It's over now. If it was just about being dazzled by a younger man, maybe, but realizing it was about money too, I'm glad we split. What? I'm younger and understand you better than that old woman. Don't be fooled by her, Ethan. You'll realize my worth soon enough. Can you start the car? Emily was still saying something, but I ignored her and asked Avery, who drove me, to close the door. It seemed like the ex-wife was fumbling with the door handle and even kicked the door. If I made you feel bad, I apologize. That was your ex-wife. She's chasing after us. Looking back, I saw Emily running down the middle of the road after us. It seems she found out after leaving me that the man was a braggart with a gambling addiction and massive debts. Emily struggled with non-stop work to pay them off and only recently became debt-free. So, she tried to meddle when she came across me, who she thought was worse off. She was overwhelmed just keeping herself afloat. After that, Emily called me several times, but I had her number blocked. She went back to the man she left me for, but he didn't accept her, and they split up. Emily's ex-boyfriend from the old man's band concert, still excited from the concert, started talking to me. I didn't ask, nor do I want to know. But something piqued my curiosity. After that, I stopped hearing anything about Emily. Right after Emily left our home, my assistant was replaced. The person who took over was Avery, a tall, slender beauty with long hair. Previously, I had exchanged music files with my assistant via email, but Avery insisted on face-to-face handovers using a memory stick. She would come an hour early to pick up the files and wait in my living room. I asked her to watch TV and wait, but soon I would hear the sound of a vacuum cleaner. When I went to see, Avery had started cleaning. Sorry, am I being too noisy and bothering you? No need to apologize, thank you. Feel free to relax. Can I continue then? Sure, go ahead. It was like this every time. Then I had an idea. What would Avery do if I cleaned the house perfectly before she arrived? So, one day, I cleaned the house and waited for her. Expecting something, I observed, but no sound came from the living room. Maybe she had started working on her tablet. Thinking so, I focused on my remaining work. But after a while, a pleasant aroma wafted through the house, and I stopped to head to the living room. Sorry, I found something in the fridge close to its expiration date and cooked it. Please eat it later. Sometimes it's good to cook for yourself, you know. At that moment, I fell for Avery's homely charm. Or rather, she completely captured my heart through my stomach. Despite my age, I confessed my feelings to her again. And now, Avery is living with me. The old man's band is doing well, featured on TV and in magazines. We've maintained our activities as before. Originally, it was a group of older guys reminiscing about the past and starting a music activity. They didn't want it to affect their main jobs. Because of this, performing live only once a month was considered good enough, and now, in a different sense, we've become a band whose tickets are hard to get, creating a buzz mainly on social media. I continued providing music, producing several million-selling tracks. Riding on this momentum, my producer formed a few new groups, so I've been busy clicking away at my computer until late every night. I also kept up my part-time work at my brother's deli, living a fun yet busy life. One day, during a rare day off, I was relaxing at home. I'm back, had a good sweat at the gym, it feels great. Avery sat down next to me after returning from the gym. You don't have to sit here, you know. We have plenty of space. I had moved from the apartment where I lived with Emily to a newly built one. I wanted everything to be new. The rent was higher, but it was worth it. Why not? My place is right next to Ethan. Hey, I want to work up another sweat with you. Saying so, Avery used my arm as a pillow and looked up at me. Yikes. I scooped Avery up in my arms. The apartment I lived in a year ago was visible. Have you gained a little weight? Not at all. If anything, it's heavy weight. With that, Avery wrapped her arms around my neck and kissed me. I'll make you forget about living in that apartment,